Okay, one. Why did you start this channel? Because I ran out of excuses not to. Because I couldn't put it off any longer. I was so absorbed by Booktube anyway. I started it because I live on YouTube. There's like a little tiny attic at the back, right up the stairs, you know, that little spiral staircase. And if you knock in just the right way, you'll find I'm living there. Because it feels like Booktube was invented for me. Because all my life I have loved talking about books and asking people, what are you reading? And it should be pretty clear straight off whether they love the book, they hate the book, they disagree with it, they're finding it's making them think again. So talking about books is a way of relating. It's kind of like watching surfing and thinking, you know, the water's up, the tides are right, let's go for it. 2. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to YouTube? Mad hair. And I love editing video. I love doing things. I look upon it as being an experiment. I write. I make some video poems. You might get some of those. I'm interested in words where they're appearing on the page and then on the screen, when they're painted, when they're made into graphics, the whole range. If you put me in a card shop, you could come back 2 hours later and I would probably still be there reading before trying to decide to buy one card. I love that. I love words together. I love pictures together. I decided to start my own contribution to YouTube because I've been listening to so many interesting conversations and thoughts, and because I have a rather distinctive choice of subject areas which are not usually found on YouTube. Which brings me to, also, I bring a little bit of Irish wit, and I live in Scotland. Unusually, I tend to speak in footnotes in that I will say something and say, I found it in this podcast, or I read it in this book, or reference it in a magazine, and then you can look it up if you fancy, or if not, that's also fine. 3. What are you most excited for about this new channel? I think it's the sense of having a rhythm of constant thinking about books and what's coming through, what I'm reading, what I'm thinking, passing it on to other people, moving on, hearing what other people are thinking about, just having that as a part of my week. What I'm most excited for is what I don't see at the moment, what is yet to be, and that I'm not even going to envisage. It's just going to happen as we do this together. There's a later question which I think actually comes in here, which is, what kind of books do you like to read? Books in humour, which are maybe less represented on Booktube, and I love history of art books. And so the books I'm going to be featuring and the films linked with it and so forth are going to be on humour and the arts, history of art, film, poetry, books and creativity, and non-fiction. I think that the books that I like to read go well with visual representation. That if I've got an art book I'm talking about, I can show what the pages look like, what the pictures look like, and I think that's ideal for Booktube. It's not only words, but it's also pictures that we can be shown and look at. Earlier in life, I read a lot of fiction, classical fiction, the Dickens, the Jane Austen, the Brontes and so forth. And then I turned a corner round about age 30 and began to read non-fiction like there was no tomorrow. 4. Why do you love reading? Personally, I love reading partly because of the book as a physical object that you hold in your hands. I worked for a time in an academic library where once a week I would get this giant box of books on assorted topics to be sorted out, and that was fabulous. You open a box and there is a kind of smell about books, possibly it's glue, but there is that sense of a brand new book that is just fresh, and it's not creased, it's not crumpled, it's new. Having said that, I do buy second-hand books, and I think that's the way forward to be able to afford books if you like reading. Question 5 and question 9. What book or series got you into reading, and when did you start reading? For most of us, we started reading when we went to primary school, and then it just grew from there. This is where people begin to talk about books that we haven't heard of, because it depends on where you grew up. So I'm just going to name the main ones that everybody will have probably seen, and that would be Asterix and Obelix, and Tintin, and P.G. Wodehouse. 6. What questions would you ask your favourite booktubers? Well, I am asking them directly. That's the joy of booktube. 7. What challenges will be hardest to overcome? Spending a lot of money on books, because I might try to justify it and say it's not just for me, it's for people out there in booktube. Where do you like to read? Pretty much everywhere. Wherever I happen to be and where I have a book. And there was a series about books done in the UK by Griff Rhys-Jones, who said that he was the kind of reader that would have to have something to read on a long train journey, even if it was just a railway train timetable. And I would fit into that category as well. I like to read where it's reasonably quiet, or where there's a really good comfy chair, it's soft, and good lighting. What does my book collection look like? Well, even before I began making this newbie book tag, I started doing a library collection tour. Now I've come to grief because around about shelf 4, someone else in the house, I'd taken off a half a shelf of books to record on, and someone else in the house put their own books on the shelf. So we're in chaos at the moment. Things got moved around a bit, so it's all a bit mixed up. And I'm not sure I will continue that book tour, but anyway, I'll give the first few shelves up. My book collection looks like unmatched books of different heights, different colours, and arranged in a way that is not to do with the rainbow. My book collection looks smaller than I would like it to be. I would like to have a lot more books, but I'm looking forward to seeing what you've got on your shelves. And I hope that what I've got will be fresh to you, interesting to you.